On this day, I see clearly Adam Copeland came to life in the land of all elite after leaving his former life behind. Out in Vince Land, he decided to ply his trade with Tony Khan, and the crowd, they went insane, and they left their hearing behind. There was ringing on this day. I'm John Rankin with my review of AEW WrestleDream 2023. To honor the memory of the late, great Antonio Inoki, we had some peaks, we had some valleys. We had about 6,000 people in the Climate Pledge Arena going batshit insane for a lot of moments on this show. It was certainly one of the most memorable goddamn live wrestling shows that I have seen. What an atmosphere. And sure, not everything was perfect, but the positives far outweighed the negatives. There were a lot of great goddamn moments I can't wait to talk about. And let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. Were you in attendance? Did you enjoy yourself? Were you watching at home? How did the crowd noise come across at home? This is going to be a different review than usual, much like my Collision review from just literally, 24 hours ago. It's actually hard to believe that there was Collision and WrestleDream. Collision had maybe 4,000 people there, and we tried to make noise. Wasn't all that great. Talked about that, talked about the Marathon, Ring of Honor tapings, and sure, this pay-per-view did go a bit long, but there were enough expedient matches, and at least watching it live, I appreciated the fact that they tried to get the most in there. Now, again, there were a few issues, but boy, those positives. Can't wait to talk about those positives. One thing I do want to say, it was great to finally get the lads back together. Myself and Chris, a.k.a. the Durbinator, my best friend, brother in life. You don't need blood to be family. I love that. I love that man just so goddamn much. I would take a fucking bullet for him. Great guy. Incredible guy. Best fucking friend, best brother I could ever fucking ask for. It was great to be sitting next to him. Another friend of mine, Roxy, decided to go last minute. She sat next to me at Collision. She was not in the upper deck, but she was in the lower level. But myself and Chris, we were on the floor. We were fourth row ringside. We were pretty close to the announcers. Actually, we were able to, if we had wanted to during one of the lulls between matches, we could have said, hey, commentators, you're doing amazing, sweetie. And they probably would have heard us. I did watch a little bit of this show back. I know Moxley did join commentary for a few of the matches, and I will probably watch some of this back, and see how the sound translated as far as, from the live reactions to, what did the television cameras pick up. And I will talk about a few of the fans that were pretty cool to interact with. There was one young lady and her significant other sitting next to me. She apologized in advance. She was shrieking. Everybody went nuts for some moments on this show. It was a fucking great atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere. So yes, again, they did get only about 6,000 people, maybe 6,500. I'm not actually totally sure. They did have a surge in ticket sales, still well below what Dynamite got on January 4th of this year. I mean, that was around 9,100, 9,500 people. They got a lot of people there. It was definitely a bigger crowd than Collision, a much livelier crowd than Collision. There were a lot of people that were ready. I will say this, sitting on the floor seats, they are definitely crammed close together. I definitely was sore afterwards because trying to sit next to a bunch of people that are packed in like sardines, well, it certainly was great because there were a lot of times where I'm like, man, I got a great view of the ring. We got to welcome some hometown people. It was great. It was fucking great. Aubrey, Darby got a big old pop. Swerve, oh my god, that Swerve reaction. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. But yeah, that's the baseline of it. So I'm going to get started with the review now. I'm going to talk about how I perceive a lot of, this stuff from a live perspective. So, Dasha looks incredible live. She is so gorgeous. There was the Inoki tribute. Tony Khan is not a public speaker, should not be speaking publicly. Rocky Romero was there, Shibata, the man with the new brain, and a couple of Antonio Inoki's family members. I want to say one of his kids and possibly one of his grandkids. I wanted to try to tune out some of what Tony Khan said because he sounded like he needed to sneeze. Some of the, the enhancements he got, a bit before when he decided to book some of this show. But nevertheless, it was a nice way to honor Antonio Inoki, who truly led professional wrestling in Japan, led a new age with his chin. So did Baba. That's mean. But Antonio Inoki, may he rest in peace. May his chin rest in peace as well. It was really, really cool. Kojima got a pretty good reaction along with Keith Lee, Billy Starks, and Athena. Billy Starks and Athena were heels, or Athena was a heel on the Ring of Honor tapings, but she was a face here. Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, Mercedes Martinez, and Diamante were their opponents. Diamante is barely taller than the goddamn top rope, and I can't unsee it. The crowd loved Kojima. There were bread chants. The leader of Bread Club, fuck the world, hooray carbs. Keith Lee seemed motivated. He was getting a pretty good reaction, and he helped Kojima hit the lariat. So Kojima getting a couple quality wins. That was nice, considering, what he's meant to New Japan, All Japan. Very, 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 talented individual. This was a fine opener, and this was on the 0 hour, by the way. Claudio took on Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett, home state guy. Grew up in Ballard, which, if anybody knows anything about Ballard, you want to get the fuck out of Ballard. Just want to say that right now. Not exactly a great area. Good wrestling. There was a lot of really good wrestling here. Barnett is very, very good. I don't know why he didn't get a better reaction. Claudio got big cheers. There was a nice swing portion, but he only did 4 rotations because he's like, fuck it, it's a 0 hour. Put me on the main show and I'll do 20. And it was nice that after Claudio won, Josh praised him and said, this isn't over. Let's try that again sometime. I'd be down to see this on television at some point. But Josh, great talent. The fact that he can still go, the way he does, he still can wrestle at an incredible pace because his style is tough, but it's safer because it's more mat and submission based because of the MMA influence. And him and Claudio worked out a fine match here. Luchasaurus took on Nick Wayne. Goliath versus David. Nick Wayne's mom was watching there. A lot of people in my section sure love Nick Wayne. They love Nick Wayne, but they also love Nick Wayne's mom. And they were channeling Stacy's mom, but instead, Nick Wayne's mom has got it going on. Nick Wayne 1 is an uber talented individual that will get better. He will get better as he progresses in his career and his life. His mom is a super sweet, very, very nice woman who has overcome a whole lot. Credit to her for having the strength and the spirit to obviously encourage her son to get into the world that that her husband was in, the late great Buddy Wayne, not Buddy Wayne of the Pacific Northwest, by the way, the good Buddy Wayne. And yes, Nick Wayne's mom is a beautiful woman. I can objectively say that. She has a great screen presence, and she lended a lot to this, encouraging her son, and then something later on in the main event that we all saw coming. But that was a bit much, what some of the people in the section were saying. There was one guy that had his face painted up like Darby that I think had one too many beers and quite frankly should have been laid out on the ground and having words spoken over him. Decided to make a joke about Takeshita or Ibushi, I don't really know. I just want to say if that guy does happen to be watching, drink a little less or your girlfriend may leave you. So anyway, Luchasaurus beat Nick Wayne pretty handily. I think it was like under 5 minutes. And then the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass took on TMDK, Shane Haste, Mikey Nichols, and Bad Dude Tito, who apparently stole Adam Bomb's singlet. I don't know why. AEW Trios titles up. Billy was super over. I mean, and the fact that he's still able to move all that well, that's great. I will say that Aubrey, super over being, Washingtonian. Aubrey, by the way, one of the nicest people that I've ever interacted with from the wrestling business. Met her at multiple independent shows, talked to her quite a bit. Very, very good. Very good referee. Her and Red Shoes, my 2 favorite referees going today. And Billy was really enjoying this. This was a fine match for what it is. TMDK, they're not all that bad. Shane Haste did not bring his giant hat. I was disappointed. If you watch New Japan, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. If you don't, you are mystified by what the fuck I'm talking about. To the shock of nobody, the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass get the victory. Big pop, good stuff. And then, they do more hype packages and stuff like that. And then we get the pyro, we get the setup, all this. They switch out the announcers JR was there for some of it. They would switch out for Taz, Excalibur. They called most of the show. Nigel, I think, called most of the show. Moxley joined for Claudio and Josh Barnett, and not the only time that he would join for stuff. MJF, who got a big pop. I mean, a very big pop. MJF has embraced this whole thing, but he's still that snide little heel. He took on the Righteous. I do not get the Righteous. I don't think I'm ever gonna get the Righteous. I will, pay good money to see Dutch never do that thing with his tongue again. And I don't know why Rob Zombie is a wrestler. And I'm not even saying they're bad people. I just don't get with the gimmick. It's like Waylon Mercy, it's Waylon Mercy tribute acts. So anyway, MJF had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. It was a 2-on-1 handicap match for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. The kangaroo kick, the stuff he built up to the body slam that he was going to hit Dutch on, or hit on Dutch rather. And the Righteous did their job. I'm not even saying it was that bad. MJF managed to gain the advantage doing the human centipede thing and then getting the victory with the heat seeker and his feet on the ropes and just doing this. And it was great because MJF still cheated, did this. He managed to gain just a quick advantage and a quick win. It was good. It was good. It was a fine opener. Eddie Kingston took on Shibata, the man with the new brain. Dave Meltzer should lose every bit of credibility for what he said there. Had the brain taken out and put back in. So you can't take a man's brain out and put it back in. This is not that Frankenstein episode of The Simpsons. So, strong openweight and Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship match. And look, it was cool to see Shibata in person. I would have never thought in a million years I would have gotten a chance to see Shibata in person. And it was great to see him wrestle. Yes, the strike heavy stuff kind of tested my patience because I've seen a lot of that stuff, not just on New Japan, but on AEW. And Eddie has tropes that he relies on. Eddie, though, over. Shibata, shockingly, pretty over. So there was a bit of a split crowd, actually, for this, at least where I could hear it. And, Shibata got a pretty good reaction here. There was some good back and forth. Shibata kicking out at 1 was a little bit shocking, but then eventually fell to a powerbomb 1, 2, 3. But Shibata got his kicks in, got some good offense, still had that stoic expression being the wrestler. That was good. Show respect afterwards. That was cool. Aubrey, again, getting a big old reaction. Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart with Brody King in her corner for the TBS Championship. And I'm going to shock you guys. I don't know how it came across on TV, but the crowd was shockingly into this. And I'm not even knocking the efforts of Julia Hart, who has done great with this House of Black character, and Statlander, who, god damn, she looks great. But she also, dropping the alien gimmick has helped. The women got the crowd into this. There was even a smattering of "this is awesome." Now, I mean, I know that sometimes that chance just thrown out willy-nilly. The fact that it was thrown out about the women, and the women worked hard. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying this is better than the TV match, in all due respect, but they worked hard. Julia hits that moonsault. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful moonsault. Good on her for getting that thing down. Brody did get a few woo, all that and everything. That was pretty cool. But Sunday Night Fever, because every day of the week that it happens, it's a different day. And Statlander got the victory. Not a bad match. And then the Bucks versus Lucha Bros versus the Guns versus Orange Hookers. Orange Cassidy and Hook. So this is basically what I just... It's a 4-way for a future AEW tag title shot. You could have it at any time. And I thought the Bucks were going to cash in on FTR later in the evening. They didn't yet. There was no psychology to this. It was what it was. People cheered Orange Cassidy. That's fine. I didn't. I will never cheer Orange Cassidy. I will never wish ill upon him. I do not wish ill upon the individual. I hate the gimmick. I will always hate the gimmick. It's a stupid gimmick. To me, it's a stupid gimmick. Hook is pretty over. The Guns got ass boy chance. The Bucks won. Let's move on. By the way, Phoenix also got injured during it. Big shock. Phoenix getting injured. Maybe stop crashing on dives and shit, and maybe that won't happen. I hope that Phoenix is all right, because that AEW International Incident Championship is kind of cursed. So anyway, Swerve got a big thunderous pop, even though he's from nearby Tacoma. Yes, Seattle and Tacoma are near each other. If you count about 30 miles of distance being near each other, that's also about an hour of at least traffic on a good day that it takes to drive those 30 miles. That's, of course, assuming you want to go to Tacoma, which nobody should ever want to go to Tacoma. And I know there are cool people in Tacoma. Nobody likes Tacoma. Nana does his dance and he swerves when he drives. That dance was over. That dance was super, 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 super over. I can't do the dance at all because and it's like I can't swerve when I drive, even though it's Seattle, and you pretty much just go where the lanes take you. And even they don't know where the lanes are going to take you. There are people that have lived in Seattle all their lives that don't know where the lanes are. I'm not kidding, by the way. Seattle sucks. It's a beautiful city in some parts and bullshit to drive around. But Swerve got a big pop. Big pop. Whose house? Swerve's house. Whose house? Swerve's house. Hangman got... It was like anytime Hangman even attempted to draw a halfway deep breath, he was getting booed like he was filleting animals on the side of the road. I mean, he was just getting... then again, to be fair, Hangman is easy to boo. And I mean just as a character. I mean as a person. I just mean as a character. Because he has had no evolution as a character. None. It's all gone back to him being... lacking confidence and all that. And sure, after losing a world championship, maybe you lack confidence, but just, god damn it, it's just feeding on itself and just repeating. It's like a snake eating its own ass. Snakes don't even have asses, they have tails. Swerve, big reaction. Swerve and Hangman. Not only was this a show stealer, it was also the crowd killer. Crowd killer in the sense that we pretty much blew our goddamn collective loads several times. There was a lot of insane reactions, a lot of great shit. Defy Northwest, by the way, Defy Wrestling, that's in Seattle and Tacoma and other areas. They're going to run a show in Yakima in a 7,300 seat capacity dome. Good fucking luck. And I like some people at Defy. Do not misunderstand me, but I have also heard certain things about the conduct of fans and staff that work for Defy, other fans that have been made feel unsafe, and other things. And I refuse to go to a Defy show until those things are rectified. Plus, also indie shows that are charging about $100 to $130 for VIP stuff. Run a less expensive venue. That's all I have to say. Nevertheless, I think I don't know if I paid $130 for the tickets I got for this. I paid maybe $130 with insurance for the collision tickets, and that's for both. And I think I paid $230 for these tickets with insurance. Pretty good. Nevertheless, fuck you, Cowboy. Fuck you, Hangman chants. These were loud. Did they come across well? Because Swerve was getting big reactions. Swerve even did a promo before. There was huge. They had everyone up. They had everyone on the edge of their seats. We were worried multiple times that Hangman was going to win, and people would have thrown their chairs in the ring if Hangman had won. Hangman would have been buried under chairs. He would have been buried under the barricades. We would have torn the front row area apart. Enough people could have done that because Hangman was that hated. Even though Hangman did get, I guess, a few cheers from a smattering of cheers, he was that hated any time he looked like he was going to get the victory. The fans would have actually, collectively gotten upset. People might have left. Prince Nana did do a, put Swerve's foot on the rope. This is near the finish. The multiple, great spots, ebbs and flows and stuff like that. Sure, they kicked out of a few too many things. That's something you kind of have to just deal with not just AEW shows, but just wrestling shows in general. New Japan shows, doesn't matter. It worked here. I mean, maybe there were a couple where they didn't need to. There were a couple spots where I'm like, okay, apron spot. Oh, no, not the hardest part of the ring. Then they did a doctor checkup on Hangman because Hangman, oh my God, Hangman might be hurt, but then Swerve just hits a stomp and says, fuck you. And Hangman ended up losing. Swerve got a massive pop. Big moment. Good stuff. The right call. Even though Hangman's supposed to be the face in this because Swerve's coming for his spot, but Hangman's just hold on to his spot. But Swerve's like, I should have been this, and I should get everything that you got. And then the fans are just like, fuck it, we like Swerve. I mean, but then again, it is Swerve's home state, home area. Again, even though there's like 30-something miles difference between, roughly 30 miles between Tacoma and Seattle. Trust me, I have been to enough places in this state to tell you that there are some cities you want to avoid. Tacoma is one of them. It is definitely one of them. So, Ricky Starks versus Wheeler Yuta. Not even the good Wheeler on this, on this roster. That's unfair. Wheeler Yuta tries. But at this point, Ricky won. He did do the rope walk. Ricky won. That's basically it. He did the rope walk, but it was a cool-down match. The crowd was done. We were done. It's not that we didn't appreciate Ricky. It's not even we didn't appreciate Wheeler. Danielson got a big old reaction, and here we go. I wonder if you can guess who I might have been cheering for a little bit. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. Technical versus technical wizardry. Technical wizardry all around. Wizardry, witchcraft, and wizardry. I'm not going to do a play-by-play of this because it was tremendous technical wrestling with some great strikes and some great kicks, and I love watching Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle. It was an absolute joy, and something to check off the bucket list to see, as far as a wrestling fan, seeing Zack Sabre Jr. in person. I know he did wrestle at Defy Show 1 or 2. I don't remember how many. But I didn't get a chance to go, and also, again, what I just said. But it was cool to see Zack Sabre Jr. here. And I still can't get used to him with blonde hair. And also, their theme kind of sounds like what would happen if the Beatles all died, but then kept recording stuff. And big stuff, big moments, great action, the near falls, the kicks, the strikes, the submissions, the arm snapping. Zack Sabre Jr. is a joy to watch. Bryan Danielson is so fucking tremendous in his last full year of wrestling. I know that he will probably make some shots. He'll probably still work in AEW and just do shots, maybe do producer stuff. But if this is his last full year, he is going to make the most of this, and he did some great shit here, and so Zack Sabre Jr. This was great to watch. I enjoyed the fuck out of this. 20-plus minutes flew by. And Danielson won. Big pop. He tried to show respect, and Zack Sabre Jr. said, "Oi, no." I did like how somebody tried to shout at Zack Sabre Jr. says, "Shut up, dickhead, I'm working." Because Zack Sabre Jr. just don't give a fuck. Okay, Judas. Yeah, it was great hearing Judas live for a second time. I took a video, put it up on my social media. Yeah. So, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, and Ibushi versus Takeshita, Will Ospreay, and Sammy with Don Callis. So, there was a fan right next to myself in the Durbinator. They had written out, it was in Japanese. And it was basically that Ibushi was his favorite wrestler. He loves him, that kind of stuff. And he hadn't gotten a chance to see him. And Ibushi had been his favorite wrestler since, I don't know, whatever age he was. I think it was about 8. Because I asked him. I didn't catch a guy's name. But it was really cool. That's the kind of cool shit about wrestling affecting people in a positive way. And it was great that you got to see Ibushi. You got to see somebody that you cared about. That's the great thing about going to wrestling shows like this. That's why I'm glad that AEW exists. That's why I'm glad that more promotions are trying to run stuff, get some stars. Let's see what we can do. But, just what we as fans can experience. It's really good. So, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. From a fan's perspective, Don Callis just kept trying to jaw jack with the fans, especially in our section. And there was one point, and I mean, he might have just been pointing at the fans in general, but I was one of the only people standing. He's trying to point at me. I'm like, go ahead. I would beat your ass in a fucking heartbeat, you bald son of a bitch. I ain't a woman that you can harass and, allegedly harass really bad or whatever. I can fight back. I ain't tough, but I know I could whip Don Callis' ass. Conan couldn't even take down a goddamn cameraman because the cameraman took him down. There were a lot of "fuck you, Callis" chants. The action was what it was. People liked Omega. Jericho physically looks like shit, and while he hit a decent lion salt, cannot really go anymore. There was all this talent, and then Sammy was also there. That's the way I describe this match. They are going to try with Sammy. And Sammy got the victory here. Sammy got the victory after Don Callis pretty much herniated every disc in his body trying to do something athletic. And it was good because it was good heel heat. It was good to try to benefit Sammy. Takeshita is impressive. This was a weird usage of Will Ospreay. And also, you had the marks, the cupping marks on his back. It was like he got attacked by a giant squid. Derb said, "Oh, he got attacked by Jonathan Gresham." I said, "Oh, Jordan Grace might be, very jealous." But anyway, the match was good for what it was. It was typical. I zoned out of some of it because it was just kind of a series of moves. But I will say Takeshita looks impressive. Ibushi looked better than he did in the Blood and Guts match. But that's faint praise. He still doesn't look all that great. He looks very unsure of himself. That being said, the finish was flat, though. The crowd was pretty flat for that. But Sammy had to beat Jericho after what they did at Grand Slam. It makes sense. FTR beat Aussie Open for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Match was well worked. Crowd was actually pretty split. There were some Aussie chants, and then there were FTR chants. Cash landed really badly trying to take a Shatter Machine. He got rocked. I was worried he got a concussion. But then I think actually he might have hit his ribs and knocked the wind out of himself. Maybe. I don't know. He looked like he was totally fucked. But there was one more Shadow Machine. And they got the victory. FTR did. They did show some respect. Like, hey, this is really good. Dax is very fired up. That was cool. And then Darby gives a kid his skateboard. It was a kid's birthday, and that was cool. The full on dick guy that made a joke about Oppenheimer to either Takeshita or Ibushi kept trying to harass and buy the skateboard from the kid. He was too drunk to realize. I guarantee you that motherfucker doesn't remember a goddamn thing he said. I guarantee you he doesn't. But that being said, what he that guy, it wasn't a show ruining moment, but if he had tried to say anything to me, it would have been something, because I would have said, fuck it, I'm just going to get security and get his ass kicked out. And his girlfriend was clearly getting fucking embarrassed. Like, you better stop this shit. People are getting pissed off. So, that being said, Darby, it was cool for that. We were all like, with the kid, hey, happy birthday, man. That was really cool. The tall guy. That girl really should leave him and find somebody else. But anyway. It was really cool. I was like, kid, hey, everybody was like, happy birthday, kid. So cool. It was cool. Christian Cage versus Darby, 2 out of 3 falls match. I'm not going to get into intricate spot mentions here, but I did like how the first fall ended with a turtleneck up holdover, and Darby got the victory. And Christian still refused to take off the turtleneck. Nick Wayne's mom got involved. At one point, Christian was hitting on her, and then she was like, oh, sure. And then she hit him. She threw a drink in his face. And since it was 1-0 Darby, they kept going back and forth. Christian actually got some cheers. Darby got quite a few cheers, Seattle. Christian got some reactions. Maybe people appreciate the dead dad jokes, I guess. Or maybe they know he's an angry dad. I don't really know. But after Nick's mom did that, there was, Darby crashed on a spot to the announcer's table. They set up the steps. Christian was trying to throw Darby onto the steps. Darby slumped out on accident, or just slipped out. And so Darby says, look, we're going to do it again, just throw me. He threw him into the steps, but he didn't throw him on top of the steps. He threw him on the steps like that. And it was like his head was hitting there at the bottom. And he just did that. And then they did it again. And so they did a count-out, victory for Christian to make it 1-1. And then they brought out the stretcher. And then Christian splashed the stretcher. And my God, that was insane. That was absolutely batshit insane. I cannot believe that they were doing stuff like this at this point. But I'm like, okay, he's on the stretcher. And I guess this is it. We're going to do another count out. What the hell's going on? Because Darby really can't go anywhere. Even though Darby, after the splash, slumped over on Christian. So if it was false count anywhere, they could have done that. But Christian then starts taking the ring apart. I'm not talking like, oh, he started lifting up the ring skirt and stuff like that, or cutting off the ring skirt. I'm talking he cut off the strings. He did this. He was lifting up the mat, the padding, and all that was left was the plywood. Just all the plywood there. Just nothing but plywood. And the mat stuff and everything. And him and Darby are taking a couple bumps on this stuff. They tease a couple bumps and they take a couple bumps. There's a couple kickouts. Then there's a spot where the referee goes down. Christian Cage. I keep calling him Christian, sorry, but Christian Cage gets the TNT Championship, and he's about to do something, and then Nick Wayne grabs the title and then goes over to his mom, and the mom's like, yeah, that's right, Nick, this kind of stuff. Being a supportive parent that you would expect. A great woman like his mom to be like so proud of his son. Thank you. No, there you go. Wherever Darby's been, this is like all this stuff he said about me, said about you, said about your father. You couldn't do that. Or that you would make sure that this was a fair fight and everything. As the ring's fucking torn up, but the title shot would have been too much. Despite the fact the ring's torn apart, the referee's just like, I'm just going to let this go? Anyway, what they did is, and people know that watch pay-per-view, Nick's got the title, Darby's like this, and Darby's kind of slumped and says, fuck it, hit him. And then Nick hits Darby, which everybody fucking saw coming. Because I bet he's going to say, you chose A.R. Fox over me, forgive him for all the stuff he did, so fine, I'm going to betray you. I mean, there's a bit of a logic loophole, but also some logic. And then Christian got the victory. So, okay. And then they telegraphed this. I'm going to tell you this, as far as being there, they had the lights on the stage lit up, the spotlights, and also they had a camera shooting at the stage. There was too much telegraphing that somebody was going to show up, Adam Copeland. Sting shows up with all the enthusiasm of a mall walker on senior day at about 9 a.m. He doesn't really take any bumps, which is fair. Luchasaurus shows up, he hulks up, and then he gets knocked down, and they tease a concerto. And then suddenly, we cut to our feature presentation. There's a car driving, big old, great car, old Mustang, and right to the Climate Pledge Arena, and then you think you know him, and I don't know how it came across on TV. I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear for like a minute. I was just recording. And I stopped and then I was just recording again. My battery was running low on my phone. I lost. I think I lost like 15-20% of the hearing in my ear, or at least temporarily. But it was nuts. It was nuts. Adam Copeland arrives. Big Pop. Pyro. Teases joining Christian, and then hits Nick Wayne, hits Luchasaurus with a chair, hits Luchasaurus with a spear, hits Nick Wayne with a spear, which must have been a throw for Nick, and stares down Christian, and there you go. There's your program. Build it to full gear. Don't hotshot it. Build it to fucking full gear. You know what? It's cool. It's a fresh coat of paint. If this is something that Adam Copeland wants to do, great. He did everything he could in WWE as Edge. Now let's see what he can do in a limited run in AEW. If he can help elevate some talent, all the better. Hell of a goddamn experience. Highs, lows, ups and downs, but a lot more ups and downs. Hell of an atmosphere. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Reckland. I'll see you soon.